All right, we were learning a sikha of the Rebbe from Chelik Gimel, and it's talking about why this week's portion is called Shmini. And the Kli Yakar asked the question that it says in the Torah that it was on the 8th day that was the day that Nadav and Avihu, they went into the holy temple on the 8th day. So he says the 8th day from what? There was no such thing as 8th day. There was 7 days that they were commanded to make preparations for the holy temple opening up. They made the 7th day. They finished all 7 days, and that's it. And then the first day, the temple, the tabernacle was open, and Nadav and Avihu came in. That was the first day. There was no such thing as 8th day. The whole process was only a 7-day process. The day after the 7th day was beginning a new process. Right? Something like the creation of the world. The creation of the world was 7 days. The day after the 7th day is called the first day. So there should have been the same thing in the Holy Temple. It should have said, instead of calling this Torah portion, and it happened on the 8th day, it should have said, and it happened on the first day. It should be called Rishon, the first day, because that was the first day the temple was open. And there was no number 8, right? Just like in the days of the week, there's no I'll meet you on Yom Shmini. There's no Yom Shmini. So he says, so the Kli Yakar answers and says that this day is called Shmini to tell you that it's totally higher than the 7 days that were before it. Because then, just like the number 7 is part of nature, even Shabbat, and and even though Shabbat is holy, but if there's a circumcision, which is always on the 8th day, it pushes away the Shabbat. So it comes to show that it's totally higher than all the other days. So the Rebbe says, okay, that's even a stronger question. If it's something totally different and totally higher and it pushes all the way, so why is it called number 8? Right? It shouldn't be called number 8. Okay, 8 is important, but here we're talking about the 8th day comes after the 7. So that's another reason it shouldn't be called number 8. I mean, saying it's number 8 means that it's comparable to the previous 7. And here it's not. It's not comparable. You just finished saying it's not comparable. So he says, no. The Rebbe says the answer is that true. It's true, totally incomparable. This number 8, but without the 7 days of work before it, you could never get this gift of the 8th day. And the Rebbe says it's something similar to why we count 49 days in Sfirat Omer. 49 days we count. The commandment in the Torah is to count 50, and we only count 49. And the reason is that because the 50th day is totally incomparable to the 49 days before it. But without these 49 days of preparation, you can't get to the 50th day, this gift. That's what we said before. And then beer, now we can understand the whole idea of the future redemption. Why the future redemption is going to be better than going out of Egypt and even receiving the Torah. Why? Because going out of Egypt and even revealing, when the Torah was given, and remember what happened when God gave us the Torah, he revealed himself on Mount Sinai. The revelation was from above, was not by means of any work that the Jewish people did, even though it's true they did count the Sfirat Omer, and they've counted 49 days, and God gave them the Torah on the 50th day. But nevertheless, is Omer b'meshech azoi kurzer zeit, in such a short amount of time, less than 2 months, is nit gewen shayach, it wasn't relevant. They sollen a roisgehen bekoach avodasam, a land from the memtes sharituma, on oif azoi feel nizachach, because in such a short amount of time, right? The Jews were in Egypt for 210 years. In this 210 years, they succeeded in becoming totally defiled by Egyptian culture and attitude and ideas and what they saw. They were in Egypt for 210 years. That was like 4 generations. And now they got out of Egypt. They weren't prepared for anything. So God said, I'll give you time to prepare yourself. You got 50 days, 49 days, 7 weeks. That's not enough time to get rid of all the, the terrible experiences, 4 generations of being slaves, to get rid of that slave consciousness. It wasn't enough time in order to prepare by means of their service that they should be fit to receive the Torah. But nevertheless, God gave the Torah to them. They weren't ready for it. Is nar the Moshiach Yovel, like it says, as soon as the trumpet is sounded, the horn is sounded, nach Matan Torah, after Matan Torah, is developed for blieben in Ir Chomres. After the Torah was given, therefore, the world was still the same physical world. Biz as this is common to Cheda Egel. We see that that was possible after God spoke to the Jews and he told them personally. They all heard. It says all the Jews heard personally the first 2 commandments. Their souls jumped out of their bodies. And what was the first 2 commandments? I am God that took you out of Egypt. I am God, the one that's giving you the Torah and took you out of Egypt. I control the whole entire world. Commandment number 1, believe in me. Commandment number 2, don't worship any other gods. Don't worship any other forces, any other powers, any other spirits. Only me. That's what God said. Worship only me. What did they do? What did they do 40 days later? As soon as Moses wasn't there, they worshiped the golden calf. Why? Because they weren't ready. They weren't spiritually ready for this amazing responsibility of the Torah and believing in God and being connected to God and resisting, defying the world. They weren't ready for it, which is not the case in the Gula Tida, the future redemption, which is supposed to come immediately right now. From Eden, because this is going to come through the service of Jews, was das is eingehoben, which this began when the Jews left Egypt to mezachach sein, to refine themselves, nitblois, and not only themselves, but also the whole entire portion in the world where they are, as this has been going on. This purification has been going on for 3,333 years, day by day. That's why it says that, remember the days when we left Egypt. Vet de Welt durch dem wären a kli, by means of this, now the world is a vessel to receive the revelation from above in an inner way. So we have Chassidut to teach us the ideas, generally at least, what we're expecting when Moshiach comes, what this revelation of God is going to be like. The Nigla Kavod, like it says, that will be revealed the glory of God, Baruch called Basar, and even all flesh will see God. As Oich the Basar Gashmi, even physical flesh, their Zen will see the glory of Hashem. Urchachas the Avodas and Nivroim is nit kain kli zum gilatid, even though it's true that any type of service you do in the physical world will never really be a proper vessel for this revelation. Nevertheless, von deswegen, wie früher, like we said before, vet men la'achar shlemas avoda, given the giluim milamayla, will be given such revelations from above, oichen and ofen, even in such a way as a rusa de la elamitzad atzmo, and given them in a panimis. Nevertheless, there will be a tremendous revelation from above that we cannot reach, but nevertheless, it will be accepted by us. It will be comprehended to a certain degree by us. People will be able to live with the Creator. Kumtoi, so it comes out as the Giluyim from their Geula Tira, that the revelation, which is going to be in this future redemption, which I hope it won't be future anymore. It'll be right now. Haben, they have two opposite poles, diametric opposites. Vet nisgala veren, and or there'll be revealed a light which is totally higher than the world. On a field mit of voda, hachinalis, no matter how high the service, even like it was we talked about before in the mind we just finished learning, like the fish in the sea, ken menim nitnem, and you can't reach this level. That's number one. And number two, doch vet der gilui sein in Welt, but the revelation will be in the physical world in a penimis inside of each one. Therefore, it says that the Moshiach is going to build a third temple, and all of the Jews in the world are going to want to do all the commandments, which you can only do when there's a third temple, and you can only do when it's in Israel. The doing commandments and serving God will be so important, utmost importance to every person in the world, right? Like nowadays, everybody's crazy with the corona. Everybody's important to them. You have to stay in their house, and you have to worry, and you have to be careful, and you have to be afraid. And this is everybody in the world. The utmost important thing in the world now is don't get corona. Oh, you gotta watch out. Don't get it, right? The same way that everybody in the world now is affected by this insanity, as in the future, everybody will be affected by the most healthy and wonderful and happy and loving thing in the world, namely the Creator who's creating them. Instead of everybody being selfish and thinking only about themselves and keeping away from other people, it'll be exactly the opposite. No one will think about themselves. They'll just think about the Creator and what is the Creator creating me for? What does He want me to do? And I'm so grateful every moment that I'm alive. And I owe the Creator so much, and He's so good. He's giving us everything. He's giving us opportunity. People will feel this from the inside. Vibal does Sfirat Omer, because Sfirat Omer, that's what the Baal Shem Tov was told by his father before his father passed away. The Baal Shem Tov was then like 5 years old. His father said, "Don't be afraid of anything. Only be afraid of Hashem, only of God." And that's pretty hard, because how can you not be afraid of the world? The world is very real, right? So he says, yeah, the world is real, but how you interpret it is not real. How you interpret it is not real. The world is real. It's a real creation of God, and God wants you to use it to serve Him. And this feeling and awareness will only be done by Moshiach. It's just simply the truth. It's simply a feeling of truth. It's not that everybody's going to suddenly be zombies and be bound. The Spirit of the Omer, because this idea of counting the Omer is the Erster Avodah. This was the first service that Jews did to prepare themselves for the future redemption. So therefore is mischara, from the reward of something, you can know what the thing is, right? Someone says to you, I want you to come to my house and watch over my grandmother, right? I'll give you $1 million an hour. $1 million, where did you get this from? $1 million an hour. Says, well, your grandmother must be someone pretty important. Says, okay, I don't want to talk about it, but that's your price. Yeah, I mean, $1 million an hour. Of course, I'll watch every second. From the reward that you get from something, you know how valuable the thing is. And the fact that the reward from our service is going to be much, much more than $1 million a day. This is going to be the future redemption, the source of all riches. From this, we know this is a proof, and also that the service that we're doing now must be really, really valuable, and it must contain these two opposites, namely the revelation of the essence of God, which is higher than anyone can possibly earn on their own, and on the other hand, it'll be earned by us. It'll be in these two total opposites. Must be that they're there now, and they're inyan from Asira. The whole idea of counting the Omer, that was the first service that Jews did to prepare themselves for anything. So it must be is to silent the tug, counting the days from their bringing of the Omer. The bringing of the Omer was they brought a barley offering in the holy temple. They burned a portion of it. It's a whole big ceremony. This is a Kedusha Emshech. It is a continuation of holiness, right, in the world, from holiness, thing that you couldn't do on your own. But nevertheless, the sphere of the counting itself, this is a service, which prepares us for a revelation, which is that revelation of holiness in the creation. And it said, Bria Chashucha V'Hadar, B'Breisha Chashucha V'Hadar Nahara. Like it says in the beginning, God created darkness, and afterwards He made light. Der Tag geht Nacht, der Nacht. First of all, there's night, and then there's day. So that's what God made. He made the world. When God created the world, He said He made the night first, and then the day. And that's how it's been since then. There's night, concealment of God, and then revelation. But it depends on our service of God. And that was the idea of bringing the sacrifice of the Omer and the counting the days of the Omer. And finally, in the end, purifying ourselves enough that we could get the Torah. And this is just a preparation for the that was 50 days. This is a preparation for what we're doing. We've been doing for 3,300 years. We've been counting. And the revelation that's going to be in the end is incomparably higher, even to the giving of the Torah. So, but how can there be these two opposites? Something which is totally above human ability to receive, right, from the Creator himself. At Mount Sinai, when God spoke, it says their souls jumped out of their bodies from the tremendous revelation. But at the same time, it'll be inside of us and appreciated. And it doesn't make any sense. If it's inside of us and appreciated, so it can't be that great, right? On the other hand, it is that great. It's even greater than we can imagine. So how can it be inside of us and appreciated? How can it be? So the Rebbe says these two opposites are going to be united somehow or other. That's the whole idea of Moshiach. That was the whole idea of the Holy Temple. What was the Holy Temple? The Holy Temple was a building, right? It was a building just like, Macy's. It was a building just like that. How can the essence of God be revealed in Macy's? Doesn't make any sense, right? It says, you're right, it doesn't make any sense. It's impossible, but that's what happened. Their beer, the explanation is, and it happened by means of our work, by Kachim, in holy things. That, how do we say that the counting of the Omer started off with an offering in the Holy Temple, so that was holy. And then they drew it down into that it could be appreciated. When Matan Torah was given, it would be appreciated. How can we appreciate holiness? It says, by holy things, the order is not like the creation of the world. By holy things, it goes the night comes after the day. Right? How did in the Holy Temple, when did the day start? When the sun came up. When the sun came up, that was the beginning of the day. When did the end of the day? The end of the day was when the sun set. Right? That's the end of the day. By the creation of the world, it didn't work that way. The creation of the Jewish calendar. The Jewish calendar is the day begins at sunset. That's when the day starts. Shabbat begins when the sun sets. That's not when it ends. It says in the Holy Temple, the day began at sunrise. Farkerti, exactly the opposite from the service of creating the world. Vayera Vayiboker. Well, their Seder of order, because the order, the service of God is in the creation is from below to above. And below means what is further away from the awareness of God. That's darkness. It's Hoiptzichan, it begins with darkness. And by means of our service, then we can purify the world. And by means of that, we can make the world into a vessel for godliness. That's how the creation goes. But as far as holiness goes, Kachim in the Holy Temple, the opposite, it's exactly the opposite. If we begin with revelation of light, right? From God's point of view, there's, first of all, it starts with light. And then afterwards, God hides over himself and he creates a world. That's the way it was in the Holy Temple. It was from God's point of view. First of all, there's light from above to below, right? There's revelation of God. Man hyped on with the or. We begin with light. When oich der laila, and also the night, comes after the day. This is avoda. This is a service of purification which comes because of the revelation of light from above. They're gili from yom. Get the quote. This gives the power that we can come down into the world, into darkness, and purify it. Okay, something like we have in the world of the Chabad houses. What do the Chabad houses do? Because of the power of the Rebbe and the holiness of the Rebbe and the vision of the Rebbe, so he inspired all these people that they'll do things that they would never do and normally. Right? You see, nobody else does it. They go and they make these Chabad houses. They don't even look for any pay. They don't even. They have to scrounge for money. They have to look around for kosher food. Right? Other people try it. They leave after a year, after 2 years. It's just too difficult. And these people, these Chabad people, they do it. Why? Only because of the power of the Rebbe. It's a power from above to below. Above to below. A shot of godliness from above. And this activates everybody. So that's the way that things go in holiness, from above to below. But then there's also from below to above. From below to above means that you have to do the work yourself, right? Someone that after a person receives this revelation from above, so then he has to start to work from below and work on and purify himself. Spirit the Omer, what is purifying from below to above, counting the Omer. This is to purify yourself in the world until Zezolveren, there will be a vessel to the future redemption. This is in an order. First of all, darkness, and then afterwards comes light. What happened? There it is. We purify the darkness of the world from below to above. But Doch is the Sphira Ha'imshech Zum Korban. But you have to remember that this counting the Omer, this came from the sacrifice that we did in the beginning, the holy temple, the sacrifice of the Omer. In other words, a holy thing. That's how we began. Those days, as in their avoda Sphira, in this service of God, is their koach from Kedoshim. That were the service that we have of counting the Omer from below to above. This comes from a big shot of holiness that we got in the beginning. Gilor, love, revealed light from above. It was Vet Nimshach, which is drawn down by the service of Sfirat Omer. In the world. So this 3,300 years that we've been counting since going out of Egypt, it all started, the power was given to us by God when he took us out of Egypt the first time, amazing miracles. And then when he gave us the Torah, even bigger miracles. And this power is given to us that now we have the ability to count the Omer. Whoa, hello, hello. Hello. Is your ship sinking or something? There's all this noise. Okay. All right, so what did we learn here? We learned that the Yom HaShmini is an amazing blessing that came from above, completely incomparable to the 7 days before it. But there had to be the 7 days preparation. The same thing as the giving of the Torah, amazing blessing from above. But it had to be done by means of the counting of the Sfirat Omer. 49 days, and we got the 50th day for free, totally above. But we had to do the 49, just like the 8th day. It had to come 7 days before, had to be preparation of 7 days. And then they got a blessing from above, which is totally incomparable to what they did. Same thing with Matan Torah, and the same thing will be with the future redemption. But we have to remember that the reason, the way that we have the power to work from below to above is because of the amazing blessings that we got right in the beginning, going out of Egypt, receiving the Torah, etc. And that's what gives us the ability to get this amazing blessing, which will be in the end of the future redemption and the revelation of Hashem everywhere in the world. And now we're going to do the Yom Yom. Excuse me that I muted you, but there was a lot of noise over there. Here we go. Ready? Yom. Today's Yom. We do not say the bracha shechianu in the days of the Omer count, even on Shabbat. Don't make. So if you didn't eat any new fruits, don't bring any new fruits to your table on Shabbat. We all have a certain element of not good. everybody has a certain element of bad in them, selfishness, etc. It says that on Yom Kippur that they used to send a goat, and they would take a goat and they would push it off of a mountain. This goat that was pushed off a mountain, it says to Azazel, it says this was a service in the Holy Temple. Because every creation has a certain amount of negative in them. But the negative that we have inside of us, we have to banish it to an Eretz Gezerah. In other words, don't pay attention to it. That's the service of, in Chabad, it's called Hesach Hadat. You have bad personality traits, right? Things make you depressed, things make you angry, things make you vindictive. Forget about them. Remove your mind from it. Remove your mind from it. Throw it off the mountain. Don't pay attention. That's the way to deal. The Hasidic trick of dealing with bad thoughts and emotions. And remove your mind from them. Don't make a battle with them. Throw them away. And with this, we can start a holy service and a positive way of looking at the world. Okay, have a good day. 3:00, God willing, we're continuing. Let me just unmute you here 1 second. Here we go. Unmute. Oh. I have to ask him. I muted you, and no, I can't unmute you. There was sort of noise over there. Okay, have a good day. God bless you, and I'll see you at 3:00. I hope. Shalom uvracha.